Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Kashrus, presented by the Kashrus Awareness Project in conjunction with Torah Anytime. Today, I am joined by Rabbi Sholem Fishbane, Executive Director of ACO and Kashrus Administrator of the Chicago Rabbinical Council. Thank you, Rabbi Fishbane, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And today, we'd like to discuss something that many people have been talking about, and that is eggs, especially as relates to Pesach. Eggs are quite a common product, and with the fluctuation of prices, I'm curious to hear from you how that specifically impacts the kashrus of eggs, if it does.
It's very true. As we like to look in our office and see the amount of questions coming in and what's in. The latest questions are eggs. It's not about the pricing, but it's more about we're finding more blood spots. We're finding more. What's going on with the eggs? Is that related to the fluctuation of the pricing? And it absolutely is. So just to understand, what is a blood spot? So what's blood spot? You know, when the Gemara talks about blood spot, if you find a blood spot in an egg, that was the beginning of an embryo, and that means it's completely not kosher. The whole egg is not kosher. So you crack an egg, you know, certainly when they were raised hens and there were roosters around. Today, most places when they raise hens, there's no roosters around. So what is the blood spot? So basically the blood spot comes from inside the chicken while it is producing the egg. When the chicken gets frightened, usually from thunder, it will rupture and you'll get a blood spot or something like that. And it's in a place called the stigma that's inside the chicken. And therefore the question is, now what? I mean, blood is not kosher. You can't eat the blood. What do you do with the whole chicken? So there's a machlokes. Rav Moshe says, eggs, you know, throw out the whole egg. Rabbi Yosef says, no, just take out the blood spot. Everyone has their way of doing it according to their own moira derech. But the question is, today, why are we finding so many blood spots? What is going on? So it's very much related to the fact that supermarkets need to sell eggs, and there's a tremendous amount of pressure on the egg layers. Give us eggs. We need our quota. We don't have. They killed off a lot of the hens from the avian flu. So two things are happening.
So you're saying there was a shortage?
Major shortage. There's actually three things happening. One is that the government itself is now reconsidering no longer destroying the entire farm when they find one hen, rather like by section. They're rethinking it because they can't.
As far as the avian flu?
The avian flu, yes. Okay. But in terms of why there's so many blood spots, so two things. Number one, the candling. You know what happens is when the eggs come out, they run it through a conveyor belt. Underneath there's this big light that's called candling, and the workers look to see if there's anything irregular, which tells that there's something going on inside, and they'll pull it off usually and not sell it. Today, a lot of those are passing through because they need to meet the quota. So that's the first reason why there's so many blood spots today. The second is because there's no younger hens coming in, they're letting the older hens stay much longer than they usually do. And, you know, the body begins to break down.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
you're saying, and because of that, when an older hen produces an egg, it's more likely
to have
a rupture.
Or
really?
Yeah, very.
That's fascinating.
It is, and I don't know. This is my own particular thing. That one of the complaints we're hearing, nothing to do with kashrus, is like, you know that the shells are actually much thinner than the old shell. Like, you know, you touch it and it's breaking. I wonder if it has to do with the aging of the hens. Also, I don't know. I'm not an expert, but or you know. But that's something that's also just so very interesting. So, you know, that is what's going on, and therefore there is an increase of blood spots. Now, it's very important to point out, though, and this is where we help a lot of people. Is that a blood spot, or are you seeing something else, what we call a protein spot? What's a protein spot? You know, every egg has spots in it. There's actually something called a white spot. You know that? You won't know it because it's blended into the white. But so there are spots that come up in every egg. When the shell is of a darker, especially the brown shell, it takes from the shell and those spots get colored. So what's really a brown spot, people confuse with a blood spot. And we call them protein spots because it comes from the protein of the shell. So therefore, how do you know a protein spot is kosher? A blood spot is not kosher. How do you know the difference? So there's a couple of ways. One is look at the color. If it's not red and it's brownish or off-white, you're good to go. The second way is that a blood spot is actually round. A protein spot is more
like streaky, like a streak.
Yeah, it's not oval. It's a little off. You can tell. And the third one is that the majority of the blood spots are on the yellow, the yolk, and the protein spots, which I said as earlier is kosher, you'll find it on the white. So those are the three ways that you know the difference. We in the restaurants, one of the things we like to do is the mashgiach checks the eggs, but sometimes he can't get to it, and there's a lot of eggs being cracked. So we put up a sign: all workers that find a blood spot gets $1. Okay, and that's a good incentive. They walk up, I found one. The rabbi, very good to go. It's a great system. So we set this up once in Mexico in one of the programs. Over there, I think it was 50 cents because $1 is like,
a lot of money.
A lot of money. And there was just this one lady that was finding blood spot. And the mashgiach called, and he says, "You're not going to believe it. She was actually pricking herself and putting in droplets of blood." Yeah, so that's.
And she was making a killing.
She was making a killing. So but there's a lot of other things that come up with eggs. One of the things with the shortage that we're talking about is that we're studying, okay, are they trying to change up the different types of chickens that lay eggs so that they get a better or can fight avian flu?
Like manipulate the genetics?
The
is
genetic,
that it?
or find or breed different types of chickens, which makes a lot of sense on the business, but we follow chickens for kosher with a Mesorah only. So we're watching that very carefully, and Baruch Hashem, I can tell you, there hasn't been any, everything so far, everything's going through the Mesorah. But in Kashrus, this is the type of things we start thinking about.
Right.
When something happens, we start thinking about it, and that's one of the things we've been following. I want to explain, because of the shortage, so you're going to see supermarkets that are going to be having something called free range, cage-free, organic. And if you're finding, does that mean there's roosters? Does that mean I have to be choishish, like maybe even a deraisa? No, don't worry about it. Don't get worried about those words. I mean, I know in Trader Joe's they're starting to sell now free range and cage, much more and all that. That doesn't mean there's a rooster. If it says somewhere on the package the word fertile, then you would have to worry about it. But all those other things they don't have to worry about. So that's the story with eggs. And I'll just tell you that the first time I walked into an egg factory, two things occurred, hit me. One is that what happens is they bring in the eggs from the coop, and the coop is very dirty, and they have to wash it off. And it came in dirty, stuck onto the eggshells with the feed. Okay, and it was actually before Pesach, and I'm looking at the feed. Is this chametz? It's grains?
Right.
What's going on there? But obviously, when you buy it, you're not buying a dirty egg. But what I was looking at was the way they were washing it off. They were washing off with hot water. And let's say it's chametz. Is it going into the egg?
An egg.
But the good news is it was under yatso lettuce, and you're good to go. I also said in that particular factory, they're actually sprinkling on every egg mineral oil. To make sure that it lasts longer,
like seal it, really.
Yeah, so mineral oil is okay. I looked around in the industry, do they use vegetable oil? It turns out they don't. So these are just types of things.
No, but that's interesting, both on the oil end and also on the feed end, both with regard to throughout the year and Pesach. Is there an issue? Let's say that people, like in my family, we put the eggs directly into the cholent. You make cholent eggs, or if you put eggs into a Michael of some sort with the shell, is there any kashrus concern at all?
No, so the maskana is there are not, but
And for chametz for Pesach?
so the mineral oil is not a chametz thing. The only thing that we in the CRC are machmer on is some of the eggs actually have like the name of the company,
Yeah.
Ink jetted. So
Right,
there's
right.
ink. That is edible ink.
Really?
That's edible ink. Well, it has to be by law. So
Right.
the edible ink could either be kitnius. It's most likely kitnius. Sometimes it could be chametz.
Mm-hmm.
So I would tell you, the majority will be kitnius. So if you put it in and you're like, oh no, what did I do? Don't worry. But that would be maybe something to think about. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
As always, Rabbi Fishbane, you never fail to amaze. Thank you for sharing your knowledge on this interesting topic.
Thank you for having me.